I think Sarah had said, "Oh, fuck's sake," or Lee had laughed, or you had laughed. One of you two had laughed at the the fact that he'd hit the first man, or that it was a shit free kick. And I hadn't actually seen the free kick yet. But what it did remind me of, or what I had in mind, was that Conte was the Italian Roy Hodgson, because it was Hodgson, wasn't it? Hodgson that used to have
stuck him on corners. Yeah,
So that thought just came immediately to my head at the time. But no, you're right. Actually, yeah, maybe we have missed a trick. We've putting Winksy on set pieces, but then he has to be on the pitch.
I think he's a very technically good player. Actually, Winks. He's
yeah.
The problem is he does get bullied a bit in midfield. And if you look at someone like Jorginho, a similar kind of position, Jorginho is not very big and strong, but he's a more wily player, so he knows how to get out of position, out of situations. Whereas Winks, I think, is suffering a bit from the fact that he just doesn't play very often. He doesn't get a run in the team. And I think if he gets more of a run, I just wonder how good he could be for us. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm just saying, you've got to give people chance to let them thrive.
Yeah, no, you're right. He won't get a chance, but you are right.
No, I don't think he will.
You're right. So anyway, so back to the Leicester game. So he played that lovely through ball for Kane.
It was lovely. Yeah.
And when I don't know if you've watched the Conte cam show, like highlights that Spurs put out for that game, that that everyone was buzzing for quite a while, and we're requesting for a couple of days. But Conte turns away with his hands in the air, starts to celebrate as soon as Kane hits the ball. Not like so, literally as soon as the ball leaves his foot, and he knows that he's beaten Schmeichel already, or he knows that he's going to score, and he's turned and he's already
he put
celebrating.
Soinchu on his arse, didn't he? And then just slid it in. So it was a lovely little goal. Yeah, it was smart. It was smart because Harry's been missing a few, and he kept his cool to actually just turn Soinchu, so that was quite nice. But
he missed another couple in that game, didn't he? He had one of his from goal and he fucking blazed it over. So
really irritating.
But I think you're starting to see, that he looks like he's coming back to a little bit of form, which I think hopefully might be beneficial for the club and for the team. So
we've got We've got a few days to sell him, haven't we? So
we have. Yeah, I mean, he's come to form at the right time. It's just like the last few days of the transfer window, and then we'll see his form dip away again in February. But until then, we'll make the most of it. Oh well, we can't, can we? We're into an international break, so that's it. Well, we're done now.
And it's not really an international break, is it? Because there's no international games except for some South American games and Far East games.
Really?
There's no England game or anything.
So what are they going to do? Just sit around twiddling their thumbs?
Well, I think they're having a bit of a holiday. It's like a winter break.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
I think in reality, though, Conte will just have them on the training pitch for 2 weeks, won't he? And just be drilling them.
Yes. Yeah.
Drilling them and drilling them.
So I mean, so when we play Brighton in the FA Cup, then we'll be all over that, because we'll have.
You'd like to think so.
You'd like to think so. Well, would you, Andy? I mean, Graham Potter after all. It's Graham Potter after all, and he is the Messiah.
Well, yeah, I've been banging on about this for the last few days. That how's it, Graham Potter can play Chelsea off the park, but we can't.
But
I don't get that.
I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to sort of jump from one to the other, because we still haven't finished with the Leicester game. But I mean, you're very adamant, and you're right. They dominated that game, but they drew. And they had to. Yeah. First of all they drew, and secondly they went behind. So it's you can dominate a game, but not actually be win the game, or not actually make the most of the fact make most of your domination. So
I think Brighton's problem, though, is I know this is a Spurs podcast, but I know Brighton's problem is they don't have a striker. Whereas if you put Kane in the Brighton team, they'd probably be heading for top 6.
Yeah, but you can say that about putting Kane in any team. any team apart from the one that he's currently in.
But they do have enough. I think the nice thing about Brighton is they keep the ball moving. They play expansive football. It's great to watch. It's a brilliant watch.
No, it is. No, I totally agree. But you would have to, in terms of if you look at where, say, Potter is compared to where, say, Conte is. Potter has been with Brighton now for a few seasons, which means that he's had a number of transfer windows to mould that team and that squad how he wants it. So there's two factors there. If they don't have a striker, then that's actually his fault because he hasn't got the striker in that he wants. But that's number one. But number two, as I say, I would look at if he gets backed, if he gets the support he wants, you'd have to look at Conte after at least two windows. Because one of them, obviously, at the moment is a January window, which we don't expect a lot of movement, but you'd expect a lot more movement in the summer. So, I know it's difficult, but I think we need to. We're talking about. The conversation at the moment is about Spurs being, outside bet for, for top 4. And everyone's moaning because we didn't beat Chelsea to bring ourselves within however many points of top 3. When actually, before Conte came in, we weren't even in that. We weren't even in that discussion. Not even close.
It's the pure kind of emotional side of football, that, isn't it? Losing to Chelsea, regardless of the fact that we always lose at Chelsea, it isn't a head-based decision to be upset about it. It's totally emotional. It's heart-based, and it's purely, you don't want to lose to Chelsea, but Chelsea are good, and they're European champions.
Yeah, and I don't think
irritating. It's just irritating. That's
and it is, and it's more irritating, or it is just as irritating when you hear Conte talking pre and post match about how Chelsea are above us at the moment and they're the champions of Europe. So it's irritating to hear, I guess, an ex-Chelsea manager talking about them in that way, but. Actually, he's not telling. He's not saying any lies there. They are above us. In the way they approach the game, you can see. And if we go back, actually, let's park Chelsea. Let's finish off with Leicester, and we'll come back to Chelsea in a minute. So let's park Chelsea. So 1-1 at half time. We second half. Leicester go ahead again. And again, I thought, both goals in terms of how they were created by Leicester, I thought were very similar in terms of that little pass and that player trying to make that little burst in behind our defence, and it was a slip past just a little slip pass in behind, and they were in on goal. And
a bit of luck, and they're both a bit lucky, weren't they? Those scrappy little things.
Yeah, but frustrating, but we dominated the game. If you look at the possession, and weirdly, actually, I looked at this beforehand, but if you look at the overall possession over the course of the 90 minutes or the 95 or 96 minutes or whatever it was, 95 minutes and 50 or whatever, was only a 51% possession for us against 49% possession for them. However, in terms of shots on target,
it was incredible, wasn't
it? And shots overall. I mean, we had 27 shots overall, which is so.
Under Nuno, we couldn't get one.
No, so we probably had more shots in that game,
than we had career at Spurs.
Exactly. So it was a great performance. So Conte, he sees that the game is requires changes, and he makes the changes. And two of the subs come get involved and affect the game. So Doherty comes on at right wing back, and he'd already come on at half time, hasn't he? But he affected the game, and then Bergwijn is brought on, and first of all they combine for the first goal, and that goes this now. We can just go back to your point about Højbjerg and affecting the game higher up the pitch, because and that's probably more akin. And I think we discussed this with Lee, because Lee obviously is not Højbjerg's biggest fan, but we spoke about his his positioning and how he plays for Denmark, and I wonder if how he played in that Leicester game is more like how he plays, the role that he plays for Denmark, or the freedom that he has in which to operate, for Denmark. But his pass was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent pass he played over to Doherty. But actually, what I really liked in that move was right at the start of that move, when Stevie B actually took the ball out of the air and just passed it into Kane's path. That was a lovely little, and then it came back to Højbjerg and he chipped it over, and then it was. I just thought that was just a good bit of energy. We just had loads of energy in that game, and I think that's really where Leicester really suffered against us. We started really strongly and fast, which is quite rare for us, and Leicester just couldn't cope. Even though they did score 2 goals, they struggled to cope in lots of ways with the way that we were playing.
So, I mean, do you think maybe that's a consequence of the formation? Because I think the other, the other really fairly, what I thought impressive performance is when we played against Liverpool. And I know we only got the draw in that game, but I thought we played really well. And that again was a 3-5-2. On that occasion, Delhi was in the team, but I thought in terms of the shape and how we approached the game, I felt that was a really good game, and it was the same against Leicester. I thought we were on the front foot. I thought we were dynamic. I thought we dominated possession and dominated in the right areas of the pitch, and we were able to be aggressive. And I think that shape allowed us to happen.
Definitely.
I mean, surely that's got to be the formation and the shape that we play. I don't understand why we would deviate from that.
I know he seems to play this 3-4-3 more regularly than the 3-5-2, and I don't get it. He obviously has a reason for it, but I don't understand it, because every time that we line up as a 3-5-2, and also at Inter he was playing a 3-5-2, and I think at Chelsea he even played a 3-5-2.
Yeah, I think, and I'm wondering if it's to do with personnel, because he had like Mora, for example, that he wants, normally wants to get into the side. So I just wonder if it's like, well, he felt, I've got 3 really good attacking players. I want to get all 3 good, really positive attacking players in. So we'll change the structure, or I don't have that creative player that will sit in that pocket. So therefore, because I don't have that creative player to sit in the pocket, I'm going to we'll have 3 up top. I don't know. I'm not entirely.
I think it might be a bit of that, and the fact that we don't have Sonny at the moment kind of forced him into a 3-5-2. Although the Chelsea game was a 4-4-2.
I don't understand. So it's interesting. But back to Højbjerg. Like, as I said earlier, as the game was progressing, and I was sitting here desperately hoping that we'd score. I'm wondering how, of the players that we were making changes, how he'd managed to escape the cut, and having had those thoughts and nearly articulating them on Twitter, but choosing not to because not best forum for that sort of thing at that time. No. He first of all, he makes a goal-saving block. He throws his body in front of a shot, makes sure that he blocks that. Then he has like a goal-scoring contribution in terms of that pre-assist for Doherty that falls for So I mean, this is what I say. What do I know? That the thing about